Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Kimberly for another in her Years of Growth series. Welcome, Kimberly.
Hello. So excited to be here.
I know, it's awesome. So Kimberly is an artist and, of course, an enchanted future self coach who is currently, if you are listening to this, accepting pay after you manifest clients so she can help you manifest more money and step into your future self, the same as you're hearing from her that she has done. So just wanted to shout that out and make sure that we're saying that. People can go to payafteryoumanifest.com. You can choose Kimberly as your coach. If you love her, you resonate with her, and you're ready to start manifesting money and pay later, pay after you're successful. So all right.
Yeah.
Right. Speaking of money, what is the manifested total that we are celebrating today?
I know it's more because some numbers just came in, but I didn't have time to add them. It's $284,658.90.
Yay! Woohoo! That's amazing. For those listening, it is October 11th, 2021. Just shy of 2 years since Kimberly said yes. You officially started in January because we had that discussion, if you've heard her previous interviews, of actually just pausing, going through the holidays, living her life, and then starting in January. So yeah, just a little shy of 2 years. And so what I want to know is, what does that number, almost $300,000, represent or mean to you?
Well, first of all, I've been paid to stay home, own being an artist, and become an enchanted coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first aha when I shared that number. The second thing is that in less than 2 years, almost $300,000. If I broke that up, that's like $150,000 a year to do what I want to do when I want to do it. All the freedom.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yay. Amazing. Did you think when you said yes that you were, I don't want to phrase this, it was possible for you to be in the $300,000 plus club?
In all honesty, no.
Yeah. Always all honesty. I was guessing that was the answer. And how come?
Because when I signed up, I thought $10,000. I thought that would change my life. And then just $10,000 kept coming. So,
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think that, I thought having more money was the answer to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, don't get me wrong, money is definitely fun now. I don't think in the past it was fun for me. And that goes back to my money story of being a money chaser. I mean, I had some big ahas about that too, but yeah, being close to that $300,000 mark is like, yeah, I didn't think it was possible when I started. Mm-hmm. Now I'm looking forward to being a millionaire.
Yay! And does that feel possible?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was in our last interview or a couple interviews ago for you guys listening, that was once like a vision board. Oh, we have to win the lottery to become a millionaire. Right.
Oh,
and so felt like, I don't know, probably felt like chasing it, right. Or getting lucky. And now there's this certainty inside of you that says like, yeah, I'm going to be a millionaire. There's no question. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I could still win the lottery. It would be fun.
Right. Exactly. Because exactly it would be different. Right. Can you imagine if you had won actually, we'll come back to this question because we're going to go into some money chaser stuff in a second. But I want to come back to this question, right? Like, because if you had won the lottery before, Well, I'll ask now, what do you think would have happened?
Oh, I would have blown through it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
And you know
other
that
than
for
that
certain
story.
now, right?
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, you don't even need to like pretend like, oh, I would have been really good. No, you would have blown through
No.
it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into that a little bit. So
Okay.
talking about money, the money story that you were living, and you mentioned it just a minute ago, when you started was money chaser. Like that was the story that was controlling really. And you can choose if there's another word, how you spent money, saved money, earned money, all of it. Right.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
yeah. And you've recently had, some realizations about that. So tell us about when you decided to go from being a massage therapist to opening a wellness center, and how like being a money chaser was behind all that.
Yeah. So I opened up, well, I'll call it a whole wellness center, in a really small, cute space. It was perfect. I ran a Groupon before Groupon was huge. I got all of my clients. I think I worked my ass off probably the first 6 months. And then I had it leveled out. I had 50 consistent clients. I was working less than 20 hours a week.
Wait, was
And I
this
was,
with the wellness center or when you first became a massage therapist? Just to clarify.
um, no, when I first became a massage therapist, that was mostly in Florida. I had to put it on hold when I moved back to Ohio.
Got it. Okay.
There's a whole story there too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I ran that Groupon, I was in Ohio and I opened a space.
Mhm.
And so this cute space was, I mean, after my rent, I didn't have any overhead except for rent. And my rent included the electric, the water, and all the things. So after it was all said and done, I was clearing like $3,000 a month for less than 20 hours of work a week.
Hold
And
on,
the
that's
big,
$3,000 a month, less than 20 hours a week, right? That's good. That's
that's really
amazing.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
And some weeks weren't even 20 hours. Some
Mm.
weeks were, if I wanted to take the day off, I did.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I had all the flexibility that I wanted to, be a mom, have a business, be a wife, all the things. And the aha I just had was that I had it all,
Mhm.
but I didn't even stop long enough to recognize that I had it. Because here's what I did next. I had two people that were working, I would say, with me or for me. And I don't want to say they talked me into it, but there was this whole conversation of go bigger.
Mhm.
You need a bigger space. We could have more, people working out, and I'd have more massage therapists and all the things. And so I did. I chased after that, going big, go big or go home. I mean, as if you heard that expression.
Right.
I heard it a lot. So I went bigger, and it was a total flop. I'll just be honest. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it was a major flop. And I ended up, some crazy things happened, and the building had mold. I had to move out immediately.
Mm.
And I moved back to the smaller space, and I did that for 6 months. And then I got a shoulder injury. And so physically, I could no longer do massage.
Mhm.
And in that moment, that was my story, that I have an injury. That's why I'm letting this go. Like that made me feel okay with closing down that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And so I just want to bullet point this for listeners just to make sure they're getting like you had it all and exactly what you wanted, right? More than enough income. Like if you had known what you knew now, like $3,000 plus, your husband said, like you guys probably would have, a couple of investment properties in Florida already, right? If you realize that. Like I had it all. You had the time, you had the flexibility, you had the money, and someone else said, go bigger. Right. And you're willing to listen. And I will, as a coach, say like why you were likely willing to listen. Number one, you hadn't created, strengthen your own voice yet, right? And your own internal guidance, but also go bigger speaks to a money chaser. Like, yeah, let's go bigger. Let's go get more money.
yeah.
Right? That's like,
I wanted more money.
Yeah. And in that moment, why did you want more money?
Well, because it was the next thing. I was constantly chasing the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
to make me more money,
Right.
not even recognizing that I had more money.
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't even see it because when you're living this money chaser story, which is one of the ones that we pick up by default, right? And for you, you had a mom who struggled, right? And so part of that, this is sort of a normal, like if you have a mom who struggled, often you become a money chaser because you don't want that experience. But what
wanted
you don't
the opposite.
realize, yeah, you want the opposite, but you almost create the same struggle, just with a different story, with a different way of getting to that ending or living that life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so then you know, that flopped, right? The go bigger didn't work. And I think you and I as coaches know it was because it was pushing, it was because it was your story. You know, even if it had worked, you wouldn't have seen it, or you would have, you know, oh, let's add, it's a wellness center, let's add all these other things, right? Without probably looking at the dollars and cents of it, because you're chasing what that could bring in versus looking at the numbers, right?
Yes. And I also ran the business. I wasn't a business owner. I was a friend. I didn't have and I'm not saying you can't be a friend in business,
Right. Right.
but I think I was keeping money from me by having the story of, well, I'm helping them.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it from a business perspective as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, you know, you got this injury, and we talked about, like, when we were coaching on this a couple of weeks ago, or we were actually exploring the story, and I didn't know that. And I said, oh, that makes sense, because you had to get back to chasing, like, the story, until we write another story and we get comfortable living another story. The story has to find a way to play out. Right. And so for you, it was getting injured. So you literally couldn't do this amazing $3,000 a month for less than 20 hours a week job, right? Or business, you know, how you were earning income. Right. And not to mention, it was something that you loved. I don't think we've mentioned that before. Like, you loved doing massage and creating personal body butters for each client, and really you loved the experience that you were giving people.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a lot of feelings I had to go feel when I had that aha.
Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us how it came up, and, you know, you recently, I know you had to forgive yourself. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's, and I thought if you asked me that today, I would be emotional about it, but I'm at peace with it.
You must have done the work.
I did the work. Don't get me wrong. There were days where, like, I gotta feel my feelings again, but I did. So it was like, there were a lot of tears. I had to forgive myself it wasn't even so much forgiving myself. It's really interesting. My future self showed up during that time and told me that what I knew in that moment was perfect. That experience was perfect. And that made forgiving myself a lot easier. Like, if there wasn't this whole thing around it,
right?
I just had to allow myself to be like, oh, that is sad, feel those sad feelings. And then I was really just able to let it go. There were several periods of, like, I cried, and then I set it down, and then I picked it up a few more times. And then now it's just, I can talk about it, and there's not that sadness. It's just that's interesting.
Yeah.
It feels totally different. So.
Yeah. Would you say it's more factual than emotional now?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you've actually felt the feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to throw this question, because I actually don't want the answer to be, what would you have done with that emotion before you joined the Enchanted Circle? Like, if that came up in the same story, like, how would you have handled that, or what would you have done?
Well, I probably would have had an internal dialogue of beating myself up and carrying a lot of judgment. Like, I probably would have called myself a dumbass, which isn't very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would have used that negative self-talk. Like, you had it all and you fucked it up. You had everything you wanted. How could you do that? Like, so there's all these things, and some of that came up when I was like thinking about it, but if they didn't stick,
Yeah.
as soon as one of those thoughts would come in, I'd be like, no, I was growing. You know, it's not, I don't hold a judgment about it today. It's just so new. I'm
Yeah.
still kind of wrapping my brain around it. But before, yeah, there would have been a lot of judgment. And this time there wasn't. The thoughts came in, but there wasn't any, I guess, thing they didn't stick this time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I can't quite find the way to describe it, but like I
Well,
could throw it up against the wall
Yeah.
like a spaghetti noodle and it wouldn't stick.
Yeah. That makes
So-
sense. And I think because when we are more in the habit of judgment than feeling, we continue to like roll the stuff around and look at all the angles we can judge. Right. So when something's coming up, we're telling a story, we're judging it, versus when we are really committed and we have learned how to truly feel our feelings, which we've talked about through your interview series, it gets to go away. Like those things don't stick. If we ask like, oh, how does that thought or that judgment make me feel? Like we tap into how it feels when we say that to ourselves, and we let that process instead of continuing in that story, like then it doesn't stick anymore.
Yeah, and now it's more like, oh, that's interesting. That doesn't fit anymore. Like I get to choose that that's not true anymore.
Yeah.
So I starve those thoughts. I don't feed into them anymore. And I'm sure it gets sneaky because I bring them the calls. I'm like, yes, help me. Because it comes in a new way, but I'm getting better at catching it myself now.
Yeah. And when you
That
say
I'm judging something.
Yeah. And you're talking judging, like this story doesn't come up for
Right.
coaching, right?
Yeah.
Because you've processed, and like you said earlier, it's become fact. It doesn't evoke that emotion. But yeah, in other ways, it gets sneaky when we don't think we're every time we up level, like we'll find a new way. We just can see clearer, right? Like, oh, even that's a judgment. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
like that, right? Versus it doesn't look or feel the same as, calling ourselves a dumbass when we do, right? It sneaks in a little bit sneakier. It's not as obvious, as we
Yeah.
keep growing.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that. And speaking of judgment, there was some coaching that we did. You have more savings in your savings account than ever before, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you actually have multiple savings accounts.
I do. I do.
And so as you grow and you step into being a coach and transition into different things, right? And being an artist, and you're studying and being inspired, allowing yourself to be inspired how to make more money as an artist instead of just forcing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be a space for that, right? And money comes to us. But there's some things that you need or want, and you're going to use money in your savings. And there was some judgment about that, right?
Yeah, it snuck up on me. I wasn't expecting it. And this is really interesting. Usually this time of year, and this thought just came to me as we were here talking about it.
Yeah.
Usually this time of year, I'm scrambling for Christmas. Like I used to be stressed out for like, how am I going to afford Christmas?
Wow. In October.
Yeah. Usually by August, we had been through our income tax return, all the things. And so I didn't have money in my savings this time of year, ever.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just went, because when you said that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm almost to the middle of October and I have more money coming. So Christmas is like, it's done. It's paid for. I haven't gone shopping, but it's done. It's covered.
Yes. How does that feel?
Oh, I just got goosebumps up the back of my neck.
Yes.
That feels amazing to recognize that.
Absolutely.
I just had that aha, like literally on
I love it.
in this moment.
We could tell it. Yeah. And that's amazing. Like, Because you've I mean, how long do you think you had lived that way?
Well,
The
I
whole
just
time your
turned
children were
46.
around?
Yeah. So Noah's 21. So a minimum of 21 years. But I can almost guarantee you, I'm not even sure where my money story started. So let's say almost 38 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you get to live this new life. How does it
Yes.
feel like knowing like, oh, Christmas is taken care of? I don't have to have that panic.
Yeah. So to describe, like my body is just tingling from head to toe right now. I feel
Amazing.
very light and energized and be like, damn, I do get it.
You do get it. You are living.
I am living it. Yeah,
Yes.
I get it. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
hell yeah, I get it.
Which is, for listeners, like you do get that you get it, but it just gets stronger, right? Like when you have those memories and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that. Like, look at my life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
One to go back a little bit more, I think maybe, I don't know that this is where you were going with that question, but the question had come up with, I had to get into my savings to cover my personal investments, which is, the Enchanted Circle and my creative stuff, the things that I pay monthly there. And kind of bothered me. I was like, oh, I got to get into my savings. And then I realized, and of course, my future self came in for that. And I got to choose to either be stressed about it or honor the fact that I had money sitting in my savings for those investments until I open my coaching doors and until all the art things take off and just everything. Yeah. And I trust now that it is coming. It is happening. Every single day, something is happening. There's evidence, because it's happening. It's like everything is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the question for you is, or that I had asked is, how is it powerful? Like, why are you being powerful that you're using your savings, right?
Yes. And I did bring it up, and of course it went away, but I'm powerful because I sat on that money for a really long time, like the longest ever, I think.
Yes.
That money had been sitting there for, I'm going to say like February or March. So, I mean, what is that? 6 months? Oh, even longer.
Oh, that's longer than 6 months. Because if it was February, it'd be about like 8 months, 8 to 9 months.
Yeah. I mean, I've continuously had more than $2,000 in my one savings account for that long. And I've made other investments and paid other investments off, so and this time I recognized that. So my future self, when I brought that up, she reminded me of the last time I had this question when my savings went down. And then it was almost maybe a month, but it was replenished very quickly.
Yes.
So yeah, I am powerful when it comes to saving money and sitting on it and choosing what I invest in. And it's opened this space for me to allow myself to honor where I'm going. That makes sense?
Absolutely. Say more. I get it, but I want.
So I made the decision and I asked for the support with my husband. This is something I want when I'm talking about becoming a coach and being an artist. This is what I want. Like finally knowing what I truly wanted and then having the support of that's opened up so much space for all these amazing things to come in. And then honoring the fact that there's money in my savings, that was honoring me stepping into my future self as a coach and an artist.
Yes.
That's pretty powerful and badass.
Yes, it is. Yes. Oh, that's amazing. You already mentioned how it's happening and the fact that it's happening every day. So our next interview is really, we're going to talk a lot about being powerful and confident, but is there anything you want to say as we wrap up this topic about living this new story and all of this amazing stuff?
Well, you open it up with my, pay after you manifest. If you're a money chaser, I got you. If you have a different money story than mine, I still got you. It definitely is a magical place to be. And we welcome all of you with open arms.
Absolutely. So go to Pay After You Manifest. You can click on Kimberly if you want her to be your coach, and get started with her right away, manifesting the same way that she started, right? Going through the steps and manifest 10K. So thank you, Kimberly, for sharing this moment in your journey with us.
Thank you.
And thank you all for listening. Make sure to come back and check out the next episode on being powerful and confident and what that truly means.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction, Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.